You've been taught your whole life that in order to achieve something, you must try harder, push more, grind endlessly, and control every detail of your life until reality bends to your will. This mindset is deeply ingrained in our culture. We celebrate hustle, admire people who work themselves to exhaustion, and believe that success is a direct result of how much effort we put in. But here's the paradox. If this formula were truly complete, why is it that the moments when you stop fighting, when you let go, are often the very moments when life delivers the breakthrough you had been chasing? In those rare instances when you stop obsessing over your desires, when you relax and let go of the need to control every outcome, the universe seems to deliver what you've wanted effortlessly. Was that just a coincidence? Or is there a deeper, invisible law at work here, one that goes against everything you've been taught about effort and reward? This paradox is uncomfortable because it challenges cultural conditioning. We've been told time and again that effort equals reward, but quantum manifestation follows a completely different logic, one that feels counterintuitive until you experience it yourself. Effort, it turns out, is not the engine of manifestation. More often than not, it is the very block preventing you from receiving what you desire. The more desperately you try, the more you signal to the universe that you are lacking, that you don't have what you want, and that you are separate from your desires. The very act of trying hard actually amplifies this sense of lack, creating resistance. Instead of attracting what you want, you end up pushing it away. Despite this, many people continue to double down on their efforts, convinced that the problem is not that they are trying too hard, but that they simply need to try even harder. They chase their desires, they strain, they demand, without realizing that their very trying is the vibration of not yet. But what happens when you flip the script? What if you stop trying and simply start being? This is where the magic happens, and there's a metaphor that captures this perfectly. Imagine you're standing in front of a mirror. If you wave frantically, shout, beg, or cry at your reflection, does it move faster or change more quickly? Of course not. The mirror reflects you, not your demands. If you smile at the mirror, the reflection smiles back instantly. If you stand calm and grounded, the mirror reflects that sense of tranquility and kind. The mirror doesn't care about your effort. It only responds to your state of being. Quantum manifestation works in much the same way. Reality doesn't respond to the volume of your effort. It reflects the frequency of your state. Yet, this is where most people get stuck. They confuse surrender with giving up. They think that if they stop trying, they'll be passive, lazy, or waiting for life to happen to them. But this is a misunderstanding born of linear thinking. Surrender, in the quantum sense, is not weakness. It is coherence. It is stepping into the frequency of what you desire so fully that no effort is needed to bring it closer. Neville Goddard, a famous mystic and teacher, called this living in the end. You don't beg for the result, you embody the result. You don't demand the future, you inhabit it in the present. The paradox of effort is resolved when you understand that manifestation is not about force, it is about resonance. Here's a pattern interrupt that may help you grasp this concept. Think back to a moment when you were searching desperately for something. Your keys, your phone, a name stuck on the tip of your tongue. The harder you tried to find it, the more elusive it became. But then, the instant you stopped trying so hard, it appeared. Why did this happen? Because effort contracts your awareness, whereas surrender opens it. When you relax, your nervous system shifts from stress to relaxation, and suddenly, the solution you were looking for emerges effortlessly. This same mechanism is at play in quantum manifestation. The harder you try, the narrower your frequency becomes. The moment you stop trying, the field around you can finally reveal what has been waiting for you all along. Science supports this paradox in fascinating ways. Neuroscience tells us that when we put in high effort under stress, we activate the sympathetic nervous system, the fight-or-flight response. In this state, our brain narrows its focus, and we become fixated on the problems at hand, unable to see creative solutions or opportunities. In contrast, when we are in a relaxed and open state, our parasympathetic nervous system is activated. This state expands our awareness, enhances intuition, and brings greater coherence between our brain and heart. From a quantum perspective, coherence is the frequency that the field responds to. which means that stopping desperate effort is not passivity. It's entering the only state where manifestation becomes possible. But here's where the puzzle remains incomplete. If effort blocks manifestation, does that mean you should never act? Should you simply sit back and wait for life to deliver? No. Action still matters. But the key difference lies in where that action comes from. Forced effort, born from desperation, signals lack. Inspired action, born from alignment, signals coherence. One chases, the other attracts. This is the missing piece. Most people act from a state of lack, constantly wondering why nothing changes. The missing piece is the state that precedes action. When you embody the outcome first, the action that follows is not effortful, it is a natural expression of who you are. And this is the language the quantum field understands. So, the paradox sharpens. The less you try, the more aligned you become. The more you relax into being, the more reality rearranges itself around you. It feels counterintuitive, even rebellious, because it dismantles everything society has taught you about effort. But quantum manifestation is not about forcing outcomes. It is about surrendering the illusion of control so completely that you step into the state where outcomes are inevitable. Trying harder often delays what surrender can deliver instantly. And here's the open loop left for you. What happens when you go beyond stopping effort and begin to live as though the manifestation is already complete? What shifts when you replace trying with being? The answer begins to unfold in the next chapter, where science and spirituality converge, to reveal the hidden mechanics of resistance and why letting go is not weakness, but the most powerful alignment of all. When you force reality, you not only waste energy, you create resistance. Resistance is not just a metaphor, it is a measurable state in both the body and the field. Neuroscience and quantum theory together present a compelling picture. The very effort you rely on to bring your desires closer often becomes the frequency that keeps them at bay. Understanding this is the first key to unlocking why quantum manifestation happens only when you stop trying. Start with the body. The nervous system has two primary modes, sympathetic and parasympathetic. The sympathetic nervous system is designed for emergencies, fight, flight, or freeze. When you are locked in trying, pushing, grasping, and straining, your body interprets this state as danger. Cortisol rises, adrenaline spikes, and your focus narrows onto the problems at hand. From an evolutionary perspective, this is useful for survival. But manifestation is not about surviving a predator, it is about aligning with possibility. When your body is in stress mode, you collapse the range of what you can perceive. The quantum field, which holds infinite potential outcomes, is filtered down to a narrow tunnel of fear and lack. You cannot access new timelines from that frequency. Now consider the brain. Under stress, the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for imagination and higher reasoning, goes offline. Blood flow is redirected to the amygdala, the fear center. This is why trying harder often makes you feel stuck. You lose access to creativity, intuition, and problem-solving. The more you push, the more rigid your perception becomes, and the less likely you are to notice synchronicities or opportunities that could guide you. From the perspective of manifestation, this is catastrophic. The signs are there, the field is responding, but you are blind to them because your brain is trapped in survival mode. Quantum physics mirrors this truth. At the smallest scales, particles exist in states of possibility waves, not certainties. But the key question is, what happens when you observe these waves? Experiments show that the emotional and mental state of the observer affects the way the wave function collapses into one outcome. Coherence produces clear results, while chaos produces noise. When you observe reality through the lens of stress, desperation, and lack, you collapse the field into outcomes that match that frequency. The science of resistance is the science of misaligned observation, trying so hard that you reinforce the absence of what you seek. Psychology even has a term for this, the ironic process theory. The more you try to suppress or force a thought, the stronger it becomes. Tell yourself not to think about failure, and failure dominates your mind. Tell yourself you must succeed now, and the urgency blocks the very state needed for success. Quantum manifestation follows a different logic altogether. The moment you stop forcing and start being, everything begins to shift. The paradox is that trying harder can be the very thing that blocks the flow, while surrender is the key that opens the door. Through surrender, you enter the state of being where all manifestation becomes possible. The universe does not respond to your effort. It responds to your frequency. The more you align with your desired state, the more that reality will shift to reflect it. The lesson here is profound. Manifestation is not about forcing, it's about resonance. The field of possibility responds not to the volume of your efforts, but to the clarity of your being. And once you truly embody the outcome, everything around you begins to align with that frequency. The paradox of effort is that the less you try, the more aligned you become. And the more aligned you become, the more reality rearranges itself around you. Resistance is one of the most powerful forces in the universe. It has the incredible ability to multiply the very thing you are trying to escape. It's not just some personal quirk or a fluke of fate, it's a universal law. What you resist persists. What you push against, you invite closer. The energy of resistance is sticky, it clings to the outcomes you fear. This is why affirmations often fail. You might repeat, "I am abundant," but if your underlying vibration is one of lack, the universe doesn't hear the words you speak, it hears the frequency you emit. The affirmation in this case becomes a mask over the resistance rather than a transformation of it. Your mind can detect the mismatch, your heart feels the incoherence, and the field reflects the real signal: desperation. Trying harder to override this resistance only deepens it. This is why so many people exhaust themselves with spiritual practices, rituals, or manifestation techniques, only to feel even farther from their desired outcomes than when they began. They are trying, but they're trying from the wrong state. Here's the critical pattern interrupt you need to understand. Resistance is not neutral, it is creative. Every time you try with desperation, you are actually creating outcomes in alignment with desperation. This is why the science of resistance is so important. It reveals that manifestation is not delayed because the universe is testing you. Instead, it is delayed because you are testing yourself. You are projecting a frequency of effort that encodes lack, and the field responds faithfully to that broadcast. The universe isn't ignoring you. It's answering you perfectly, but at the level of resistance you are transmitting. So what is the alternative? If effort creates resistance, does that mean you should abandon all action? No. The distinction lies in state. Neuroscience shows that when the parasympathetic system is activated, when your body feels safe, calm and open, the brain shifts into alpha and theta states. These are the frequencies of imagination, creativity and flow. In this state, your intuition sharpens. You notice synchronicities more easily. You take action not from panic, but from clarity. This is not passivity, it is resonance. You are no longer trying to force the field. Instead, you are allowing the field to move through you. Quantum science supports this shift as well. Coherent observation, when your brain and heart rhythms synchronize, produces measurable order in physical systems. Studies show that groups of people meditating together can reduce crime rates or influence random number generators. The common thread is coherence. When you stop resisting, when you stop forcing, and when you enter states of relaxed alignment, you become coherent. The field reflects that coherence by collapsing into outcomes that match it. In other words, when you stop trying, you stop broadcasting lack and start broadcasting alignment. That is when manifestation happens. And yet, here's the curiosity loop. If coherence is the key, why do so few people live this way? The answer is that effort is addictive. It feels safe to the mind. It gives the illusion of control. Letting go feels like weakness to a culture trained to worship struggle. This is the real resistance, not to circumstances, but to surrender itself. The science of resistance is not just about cortisol levels or collapsing wave functions. It is about the deep programming of the human psyche. We are conditioned to believe that trying is the only way to matter. Breaking this program is the true initiation. So, the science is clear. Resistance blocks manifestation by narrowing perception, collapsing possibilities, and amplifying lack. But the deeper truth goes beyond just stopping resistance. It is about entering a new state entirely, a state where surrender becomes a frequency, not passivity, a state where letting go is the most powerful alignment you can embody. And that's where we go next. The mystery of surrender, not as weakness, but as the ultimate vibration of creation. Surrender is one of the most misunderstood concepts in manifestation. To most people, it sounds like defeat. It sounds like giving up the fight, like choosing inaction in the face of desire. But in the quantum field, surrender is not collapse. It is coherence. It is not about stopping life. It is about harmonizing with it. When you surrender, you stop broadcasting the chaotic frequency of desperation and begin radiating the calm frequency of already having. And that frequency is what the field mirrors back. The paradox is striking. The more you release, the more reality delivers. This does not mean sitting in silence, waiting for miracles to fall into your lap. It means embodying the inner state of fulfillment so fully that the outer world has no choice but to adjust. Neville Goddard called it assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Joe Dispenza describes it as moving into heart-brain coherence, a measurable physiological state where intention and elevated emotion align. From both perspectives, surrender is not passive. It is active alignment with the version of yourself that already has what you desire. Science provides a fascinating window into this. The heart generates an electromagnetic field measurable up to several feet away from the body. When the heart and brain are coherent, when thought and emotion align, the body broadcasts a signal of stability and order. That coherence affects not only your physiology, but also the quantum field around you. It's as if the universe recognizes your signal and rearranges probability to match. Incoherence, by contrast, is static. It broadcasts noise. The field responds, but with scattered, chaotic outcomes. Surrender as frequency is the art of entering coherence so deeply that the field has no option but to reflect your alignment. Here's the curiosity gap. Why does letting go create alignment instead of loss? Because trying is always a signal of separation. When you try, you declare vibrationally, "It is not yet mine." The field takes that declaration literally and mirrors back the absence. When you surrender, you declare it already is. You are no longer reaching toward the desire, you are embodying it. This is why manifestation so often arrives when people finally release their obsession. When they relax into trust, they stop radiating lack and start radiating completion. The field cannot resist that signal because it is coherent. Think of water. If you stir it violently, the reflection on its surface distorts. Try to see yourself in that chaos and the image fractures. But if you let the water settle, stillness emerges. Suddenly, the reflection is clear, accurate, whole. Your vibration works the same way. Effort is turbulence, surrender is stillness. And only in stillness does the reflection of your desired reality appear without distortion. This is not metaphorical. It is the literal dynamic of frequency and reflection. The universe is the mirror, and surrender is what allows you to see clearly. But here is where most people stumble. They think surrender means not caring. They say, "If I stop trying, I'll lose all motivation. Nothing will happen." This is the incomplete puzzle. Surrender is not apathy. It is profound presence. It is holding the vision of what you desire without clutching it, without strangling it with desperation. It's like holding a bird in your hand. Grip too tightly and you crush it. Hold too loosely and it may fly away. True surrender is neither. It is gentle, steady presence, the perfect balance of intention and release. That state carries power precisely because it is free of friction. Psychology confirms this with the concept of flow. Flow is a state where effort dissolves, where action feels effortless, and where time itself bends. Athletes, artists, scientists, people from all walks of life describe it. Flow is not laziness, it is peak performance without strain. And what is flow if not surrender? You are not forcing. You are allowing. You are not trying, you are being. Neuroscience shows that in flow, the brain shifts into alpha and theta waves, patterns associated with intuition, creativity, and effortless action. Surrender, as frequency, is essentially living in flow not occasionally, but as your default vibration. Spiritual traditions echo this truth across centuries. Taoism calls it wu-wei, effortless action, not inactivity, but harmony with the way of the universe. Buddhism speaks of non-attachment, the freedom that comes from releasing clinging. Christian mysticism speaks of letting go and letting God. Though the language differs, the essence is the same. Surrender is not defeat, it is alignment. It is the state in which your actions stop colliding with the field and begin harmonizing with it. Here's a pattern interrupt for your conditioning. What if the real effort was never about doing more, but about training yourself to stop fighting? What if the discipline required for manifestation is not pushing but releasing? This flips the story. It means the most powerful practice is not endless striving, but learning how to live in coherence to hold the end in mind while letting the details unfold without interference. This is not weakness, it is mastery. And here is the loop that keeps you leaning forward. If surrender is the state, what happens when reality itself begins to rearrange around that frequency? How does life respond when you fully stop trying and start radiating coherence? That is the secret waiting in the next stage, where we see how the field does not just mirror your state, but begins actively reshaping timelines to match it. There is a moment every manifestor eventually encounters, a threshold where trying collapses into being, and suddenly reality begins to move in ways that feel impossible to explain. The job you chased endlessly appears when you stop obsessing. The relationship that felt unattainable arrives the moment you stop clinging. The money you struggled to force into your life flows in when you release the desperation. People call it coincidence, luck, or divine timing. But at the core is a single principle. When you stop trying, reality rearranges. The shift is so profound that once you experience it, you cannot return to the illusion that effort alone creates outcomes. Imagine a pendulum. If you push it frantically, it swings erratically, chaotic and unstable. But if you release it with one clear motion and let gravity and rhythm take over, it finds its natural arc, smooth, effortless. This is how your life works as well. Constant pushing creates turbulence. Surrender introduces rhythm, and in that rhythm, events begin to align with an elegance that no amount of strain could ever engineer. You are no longer fighting reality, you are synchronizing with it. The signs multiply, opportunities emerge. Timelines adjust not because you forced them, but because you finally allowed them. Quantum science provides valuable insight into this phenomenon. When two systems become coherent, they no longer resist each other. They entrain, their rhythms lock in. Their energy stabilizes, and their patterns align. This is called resonance in physics. In manifestation, this resonance is surrender. When you stop trying, you create the frequency that allows your personal field to entrain with the larger field of possibility. Timelines that once seemed distant or improbable slide into coherence not by force, but by resonance. This is why manifestations often appear when you least expect them, because expectation wrapped in obsession is resistance, but openness wrapped in surrender is alignment. However, this raises a question. How can you distinguish between doing nothing and letting go? This is where many people get confused. Doing nothing is apathy, withdrawal, and fear disguised as passivity. But letting go is alive, vibrant, and infused with trust. When you let go, you don't collapse into emptiness. Instead, you expand into resonance. Your body feels lighter, your thoughts clearer, and your awareness sharper. You are not ignoring reality. You are co-creating it. The universe responds by sending confirmations, signs, synchronicities, and encounters that remind you that you're on the right path. The very structure of reality begins to lean in your direction. Think of the stories you've heard from others, or perhaps from your own life. The moment they stopped sending endless resumes and started focusing on themselves, the perfect opportunity appeared. The moment they stopped obsessing over finding love and began living with joy, a relationship manifested. The moment they stopped grasping at every dollar, money flowed in through unexpected channels. These are not isolated miracles, they are patterns. They are proof that trying is often the very barrier to receiving. Life arranges itself around coherence, not control. Psychology offers a valuable perspective here as well. The paradox of control has been well documented. Studies show that when people try to control outcomes too tightly, anxiety rises, creativity shrinks, and results worsen. But when they loosen their grip, allowing flexibility and openness, performance improves. Athletes call it playing loose. Musicians call it flow. In every field, the principle holds true. Forcing blocks, relaxing unlocks. Quantum manifestation extends this principle to the level of reality itself. The more you grip, the more you signal lack. The more you release, the more you signal alignment. And reality, that faithful mirror, responds accordingly. But here's the curiosity gap. If life rearranges itself when you stop trying, how far does this apply? Does it work for only small desires, or can it apply to the biggest transformations of your life? Can you truly align with timelines so radically different from your current one that everything changes? The answer is yes, but only when surrender becomes your baseline frequency, not just a temporary trick. When you embody ease as your natural state, reality cannot help but reshape itself to match that frequency. At this point, I want to pause and invite you into practice, not theory. Words are mirrors, but action encodes vibration. I want you to anchor this principle right now in real time. Leave a declaration in the comments below. Not for me, but for you, for the field, for your subconscious, and for the version of you stepping into alignment. Write this phrase: I allow it to be easy. Do not underestimate the power of this. It is not a cliché, it is a frequency. By declaring it, you are shifting from trying to allowing, from resistance to resonance. You are telling the field, my timeline is aligned with ease. Feel what happens in your body when you write those words. It is light, liberating, almost rebellious in a world addicted to struggle. You are interrupting the old program and anchoring a new one, and the field responds. The next time you notice a synchronicity, an unexpected opportunity, or a moment of flow, remember this declaration. It is not magic in the superficial sense. It is resonance in action. So when you stop trying, reality rearranges not because the universe suddenly notices you, but because you finally notice yourself. You shift from grasping to receiving, from force to flow, from static to coherence, and that shift changes everything. The question now is, what happens when you realize that even the puzzle of manifestation itself is incomplete by design? The field never shows you the entire picture at once. It offers only fragments to guide you forward. This is the mystery that lies ahead. And it is the final piece of the paradox that makes surrender not just powerful, but necessary. If manifestation were a clean formula, a straight line from desire to outcome, you would already have everything you've ever wanted. But the truth is, the process is not linear, it is fragmentary. The universe delivers in pieces, never in totality. And this design is not a flaw, it is the very architecture of transformation. The incomplete puzzle is what keeps you alive in the process. What keeps you searching, aligning, evolving. Effortless creation emerges not from mastering every detail, but from learning to live inside the gaps. Think of how the night sky looks when you first gaze up. Scattered stars appear, seemingly random and disconnected. But as you keep looking, constellations emerge. The pieces link together into patterns, maps, and stories. They were always there, but meaning only emerges when you relax your gaze, when you stop trying to control what you see. Synchronicities and manifestations follow the same rhythm. The fragments arrive as signs scattered across your timeline. The more you force them to form a complete picture instantly, the more frustrated you become. But the more you allow, the more naturally they link together, forming the constellation of your becoming. This incomplete nature frustrates the logical mind. The mind wants guarantees, formulas, certainty. It asks, if I surrender, how will I know it's working? If I let go, when will it arrive? If I stop trying, how can I trust? These questions are understandable, but they reveal the old programming, the desire for a complete map before taking the first step. But manifestation doesn't work that way. The field offers just enough to keep you moving forward, never the whole story, always just a fragment. And it does this because the process itself is the transformation. You are not supposed to see the entire picture in advance, because who you are becoming is forged in the act of walking with incomplete information. Science echoes this mystery. In chaos theory, patterns that initially appear random reveal hidden order when viewed from a higher perspective. The fractal never reveals itself in one glance. It emerges iteration by iteration, piece by piece. Quantum theory, too, points to incompleteness. The uncertainty principle shows us that reality itself withholds full precision. You cannot know both the position and momentum of a particle with absolute certainty. Reality is literally designed to remain partially hidden, to leave gaps. And in those gaps, creation breathes. The puzzle is incomplete by universal law. Spiritually, this is not new. Ancient teachings spoke of walking by faith. Not by sight, not because sight is unimportant, but because sight only reveals fragments. Faith fills the gap. Faith is the willingness to move with partial information, trusting that the pieces you hold are enough for today. The next piece will reveal itself when you reach it. This rhythm prevents stagnation, keeps you engaged, and protects the integrity of your free will. If the entire puzzle were shown in advance, your journey would become mechanical. You would no longer be a creator, you would be a follower of a script. The gaps are what make you a co-author. But here's the pattern interrupt you must confront. Trying harder is usually the mind's way of resisting the incomplete puzzle. You want the whole picture now, so you grasp, control, and obsess. That effort collapses the mystery into frustration. Yet the truth is that the incompleteness is the most fertile part of the process. The fact that you don't know when or how is not the barrier, it's the mechanism. It's the very thing that keeps your vibration alive, curious, open, and searching. The incomplete puzzle keeps you in motion, and motion keeps you in resonance. Consider a simple story. A man longs for a change in his career. He sets his intention, but instead of receiving a clear, straightforward answer, he receives fragments. A chance encounter with someone in a different industry, a book recommendation, a fleeting idea in a dream. Individually, none of them seem to make sense. But when he stops forcing it, when he allows the fragments to come together in their own time, a pattern begins to emerge. The encounter leads him to the book. The book sparks an idea, and that idea opens a door. The puzzle never arrived completed in one single moment, but piece by piece it revealed the path. And because he allowed himself to live in the gaps, the transformation was shaped as he went along. This is effortless creation, allowing the puzzle to assemble itself around you. It's not about forcing every piece into place immediately. Instead, it's about embodying a state of being that magnetizes the next fragment. The universe doesn't deliver in response to your effort alone. It responds to your coherence. Each fragment is enough on its own, yet incomplete, both satisfying and unfinished. And this tension, the space between the pieces, is not meant to torment you. It is meant to evolve you, keeping you aligned not just with the outcome, but with the process itself. Here's the curiosity loop. What if the incompleteness never ends? What if manifestation is not about finishing the puzzle at all, but about realizing that life itself is the puzzle that eternally unfolds before you? The relief and terror of this idea collide within us. The relief comes because you no longer have to demand finality, nor the elusive sense of completion. The terror arises because you realize that there is no finish line. But when you truly embrace this, effortlessness becomes natural. You stop waiting for completion to grant you peace, and instead you find peace in the fragment. And from that peace, the next fragment always arrives. Effortless creation is not the absence of effort, as it may initially seem. Rather, it is the absence of resistance to the incompleteness of life. It is the willingness to hold the puzzle in its partial form and still declare, "This is enough." It is the choice to live not in certainty but in trust. That trust is what pulls new timelines into coherence. The incomplete puzzle is not a failure of manifestation. It is the signature of the quantum process itself. And now, the final piece awaits. What does it mean to live in this state permanently? To not just notice the fragments, but to embody the frequency of effortless manifestation itself. This is where the final revelation lies, where the decoder of reality is born, and where surrender transforms from a practice into a way of being. At some point, manifestation is no longer about techniques, rituals, or signs. It becomes about identity. Who are you being? What frequency are you broadcasting? The final paradox is this: manifestation stops being something you do and starts becoming something you are. To live in effortless creation is to stop reaching for the field and realize that you are the field. When you try to manifest from the outside, you reinforce separation. You say to the universe, "I am here and my desire is over there. I must bridge the gap." But when you embody effortless manifestation, that gap dissolves. You no longer chase outcomes, you inhabit them. You no longer wait for confirmation, you broadcast coherence. The reality you seek flows to you not because you pulled it in, but because you radiated it out. You became the timeline. You became the frequency. The field rearranges not around your effort, but around your being. Science hints at this through the concept of coherence and resonance. When two systems vibrate at the same frequency, they merge into one rhythm. Your consciousness is no different. When you hold the vibration of what you desire, not by forcing, but by being the field resonates with you, collapsing into alignment. You are no longer trying to enter a new reality. You are embodying it so completely that reality has no choice but to follow. This is the highest level of manifestation, not effort, not waiting, but becoming. Spiritually, this truth has echoed through every wisdom tradition. The mystics said, "Be still and know." The Taoists spoke of Wu Wei, effortless action flowing from alignment with the Tao. Neville Goddard insisted on living in the end, not as an imaginative exercise, but as identity itself. Joe Dispenza describes it as tuning into the electromagnetic signature of your future self until it becomes indistinguishable from your present self. The language may vary, but the essence remains the same. When you stop trying, when you stop reaching, and when you embody the frequency, you collapse into coherence with the reality you seek. But here's the curiosity loop that draws you even further in. What does life look like when you live this way consistently? When you no longer toggle between effort and surrender, but instead rest fully in being? The answer is not about perfection, it is about rhythm. You still act, but your actions flow effortlessly. You still choose, but your choices emerge from alignment, not desperation. Life becomes less about achieving and more about receiving. The incomplete puzzle no longer frustrates you because you understand that the puzzle was never meant to be finished. It was meant to be lived. To live as the field is to stop searching for signs and to become the sign. Others will notice your coherence, your calm, your flow, and they will feel it resonate in their own lives. You become a walking synchronicity, a living symbol of alignment. This is the ripple effect of effortless manifestation. Your being transforms the field not only for you, but for those around you. You are not just decoding reality, you are shaping it. You are not just following timelines, you are anchoring them. Here lies the ultimate invitation. To let go of the illusion that effort equals worth. To step out of the story that struggle is the price of creation. To embody the truth that reality rearranges itself when you stop trying because you were never meant to chase. You were meant to align. And alignment is not something you do for a moment, it is something you become. Now, if you want to take this understanding deeper beyond inspiration into structured practice, I've created something to guide you. It's called Awaken Your Quantum Power. It's more than just an ebook, it's a pathway. Alongside the teachings, it comes with a practical companion designed to help you integrate these principles into daily life, to shift from concept into embodiment. If this message resonates with you, the link is waiting for you in the pinned comment. See it not as an add-on, but as the next step in anchoring this state of effortless manifestation. Because the truth is, you don't need to keep trying. You don't need to keep proving. You only need to align, embody, and allow. And when you live this way, you will see what the mystics, scientists, and visionaries have always known. Manifestation is not effort. It is resonance. It is coherence. It is becoming the field itself. So the journey closes here, but it also begins here with you not trying, with you not chasing, with you becoming. And when you become, reality cannot help but follow.